Chosen one, stop scrolling. Right now, what I'm about to tell you is not a prediction. It is a classified intelligence report from the front lines of a spiritual war that has been waging around your heart for the past 5 months. Tonight, as Neptune stations direct in Pisces, a jurisdictional transfer is occurring in the invisible realms. The fog that has been deliberately deployed to distort your perception of love, to scramble your discernment, to make you question everything you know about connection and destiny. That fog is lifting. But this is not a gentle sunrise. This is a sudden, calculated exposure of what has been hidden, what has been manipulated, what has been engineered to keep you confused and powerless in matters of the heart. Forces that have thrived on your emotional chaos are losing their cover tonight. The veil between illusion and truth is tearing apart at accelerated speed, and you are standing at a crossroads that will determine not just who you love, but which version of your entire future timeline becomes real. The choices you make in the next 72 hours will lock in a trajectory that cannot be easily reversed. Your love life is no longer on pause. It is on rapid deployment, and you must understand the rules of engagement before you make a move that binds you to the wrong destiny. Chosen one, like this video, subscribe, and comment, "I am ready," for a powerful surprise. Chapter 1. Neptunian Command Shift. The illusion war has ended for 5 months. You have been living under occupied territory, Chosen one, and you didn't even know it. Neptune's retrograde motion through Pisces has been operating like a sophisticated psychological warfare campaign, distorting your ability to see romantic situations clearly, warping your memory of past connections, and amplifying your longing to levels that clouded your judgment. This wasn't random cosmic turbulence. This was a targeted operation designed to keep you trapped in confusion while darker forces fed off your emotional energy. Every time you questioned whether that person truly loved you, every time you romanticized a relationship that actually hurt you, every time you felt paralyzed between holding on and letting go, you were experiencing the effects of deliberate reality distortion. The fog made everything look like love when viewed from certain angles. It made toxic patterns feel like soul connections. It made you believe that suffering was somehow spiritual, that confusion was a sign of depth, that the inability to move forward meant you were being loyal to destiny. But tonight, the command structure shifts. Neptune turning direct doesn't just clear the fog, it reverses the entire polarity of the illusion machinery that's been operating in your love life. What was hidden is now being systematically exposed. What seemed real is revealing itself as construction. What you thought was your intuition was often interference, carefully designed to keep you second-guessing yourself, cycling through the same painful patterns, giving your power away to people and situations that were never meant to hold it. This reversal is happening suddenly, without warning, because delay would allow the architects of confusion to escape accountability and re-establish their influence through new disguises. The universe is collapsing their operation in real time, and you're going to feel this as a rapid-fire series of realizations about your romantic past and present. Suddenly, you'll see things you somehow missed before. Suddenly, patterns will become obvious that were invisible yesterday. Suddenly, you'll understand why certain connections felt so intoxicating yet never stabilized. They were engineered to keep you destabilized, not to actually build anything real. The forces that have been feeding on your romantic confusion are losing their operational cover tonight. They cannot maintain the illusion under Neptune's direct motion in Pisces, because this planetary shift is transferring jurisdiction of your love pathways back to your own consciousness, back to your authentic soul wisdom, back to the part of you that knows truth even when everything else is screaming lies. You are being given back control of territory that was taken from you through manipulation, through gaslighting, through situations that made you doubt your own perception until you stopped trusting yourself entirely. This is not just about getting clarity on a relationship. This is about reclaiming sovereignty over your entire romantic operating system. The fog campaign that made you believe you were broken, unlovable, or cosmically cursed in matters of love is being revealed as exactly what it was: a strategic assault on your discernment designed to keep you accessible to connections that served other agendas, not your highest path. But here's what you need to understand about this shift. Chosen one, the exposure works both ways. Yes, you're going to see through the illusions that were cast over you, but you're also going to be forced to confront the illusions you cast over yourself, the stories you kept telling even when the evidence contradicted them, the ways you betrayed your own knowing, because facing the truth felt more terrifying than staying confused. Neptune Direct in Pisces doesn't just expose external manipulation, it exposes your own participation in your own deception. This is the part that makes people uncomfortable, the part that spiritual teachers often skip over because it's not as marketable as blaming everything on narcissists and energy vampires. You're about to see where you chose confusion, because clarity would have demanded action you weren't ready to take, where you stayed in situations not because of soul contracts or karmic debt, but because leaving would have required you to face yourself in the mirror and admit you wasted time, ignored red flags, or settled for crumbs while calling it a feast. The illusion war is ending, but that means you're losing the comfort of pretending you didn't see what you saw, didn't know what you knew, didn't feel what you felt. Tonight, the truth comes for everyone, including you. Chapter 2: Love Timeline Activation. Parallel bonds collide. In the quantum field of infinite possibilities, there are multiple versions of your romantic future that have been running simultaneously like parallel programs in different dimensions. Chosen one. Each version is connected to different choices, different energetic signatures, different levels of your consciousness. There's the timeline where you end up with your actual divine counterpart in a relationship that supports your mission and evolution. There's the timeline where you settle for someone safe but unfulfilling because you're exhausted from searching. There's the timeline where you chase the toxic familiar person who keeps you in cycles of pain disguised as passion. There's the timeline where you choose yourself and walk alone until genuine alignment appears. All of these potential futures have been existing in superposition, waiting for the moment when your consciousness would collapse them into a single, executable reality. Tonight, Neptune Direct in Pisces is initiating that collapse. This isn't a gradual narrowing of options. This is a forced convergence where multiple relational possibilities are being pulled into direct competition, for which one becomes your lived experience. What this means practically is that the next weeks are going to feel like a supernatural intersection point where your past, present, and multiple possible futures are all showing up at once, demanding your attention, asking to be chosen. Old almost loves are going to resurface in your thoughts or your physical reality. Unfinished bonds that you thought you'd processed are going to send out signals, often in the form of unexpected messages, chance encounters, or dreams so vivid they feel like visitations. Imagined connections, relationships you fantasized about but never actually had, are going to compete with real opportunities that that are trying to manifest. And new people aligned with healed timelines are going to appear, often quietly, without the fireworks and drama you've been conditioned to interpret as significance. All of these are vying for the throne of your emotional energy and your future trajectory, and only one timeline survives the integration process that Neptune Direct initiates. The others don't just fade away, they get permanently closed, their portals sealed, their access to your field revoked. Here's the dangerous part that most people don't understand about timeline activation. Indecision is still a decision, and it defaults the choice to whatever has the strongest emotional imprint in your system, which is almost never the healthiest option. The loudest emotional charge in your field is usually connected to unhealed wounds, trauma bonds, unresolved attachment patterns, or addictive relationship dynamics that created massive energetic spikes but no actual foundation. If you stay passive during this convergence, if you wait for the universe to just deliver your destiny without you exercising conscious choice, what you'll magnetize is whatever resonates most powerfully with your unintegrated pain. The karmic ex who treated you terribly but made you feel alive. The unavailable person whose attention you've been chasing like a drug. The fantasy of who someone could become if only they would change, heal, grow up, or finally see your value. These timelines have powerful emotional gravity because pain creates stronger neural pathways than peace. Suffering is more memorable than stability. The nervous system registers intensity as importance, so the relationships that traumatized you have louder signatures than the ones that could actually nurture you. This is why Neptune Direct in Pisces is both an activation and a test. The universe is not just opening your love timeline, it's seeing which version of that timeline you'll choose when everything is on the table at once. It's watching whether you've actually done the work during the retrograde period or whether you just processed intellectually while your emotional body remains loyal to old patterns. It's observing whether you can recognize genuine compatibility when it shows up without the chaos you've been conditioned to associate with real connection. The collapse of parallel possibilities into singular reality is not punishment, it's mathematics. Energy goes where attention flows, and your attention during this critical window is programming the algorithm of your romantic future. Every thought you entertain about an ex is feeding that timeline. Every fantasy you indulge about someone who's shown you they're not available is strengthening that probability field. Every choice to honor your standards, to wait for actions, not just words, to value consistency over intensity, that's collapsing the timeline toward authentic love. But you need to understand the stakes here, chosen one. Once the convergence completes, once your consciousness selects a timeline through action or inaction, reversing course becomes exponentially more difficult. It's like a train switching tracks. There's a brief moment where the mechanism is fluid and change is possible. But once the switch locks and momentum builds, you're committed to that direction until the next major cosmic reset, which could be years away. Some people spend decades in wrong relationships because they didn't choose consciously during the activation window. They let old pain make the decision, and then they had to live out that entire timeline before getting another clear opportunity to redirect. Tonight is not about making perfect choices. It's about making conscious ones. It's about understanding that your indecision, your confusion, your "I need more time to figure this out" is actually selecting the timeline that keeps you confused and stuck, because that's what you're energetically committing to through your behavior. Chapter 3. Memory vaults are reopening under Pisces law. Something is happening in the deep storage systems of your emotional body tonight, chosen one, and it's going to feel like the past is invading your present without permission. Suppressed feelings that you successfully buried, grief you thought you'd processed, longing you convinced yourself you'd released. All of it is resurfacing with startling intensity because the containment protocols that kept these emotions locked away have just expired under Pisces jurisdiction. This isn't your mind playing tricks on you. This isn't weakness or regression. This is a systematic reopening of memory vaults that Neptune Direct has triggered, and it's happening to everyone under this transit, though most won't understand what they're experiencing. Pisces governs the realm of emotional memory that lives outside linear time, outside logic, outside the stories we tell ourselves about being over things. This is the territory of feelings stored in your cells, in your nervous system, in parts of your consciousness that don't care about your personal development journey or how many times you've told yourself you've moved on. What's returning to the surface is not nostalgia, though it may feel similar. Nostalgia is a romanticized, softened version of the past that your ego creates to make loss feel meaningful. What Neptune Direct is bringing up is raw, unresolved data that your system flagged as incomplete and has been holding in suspension until it could be properly classified as either wisdom gained or pattern to break. The faces appearing in your dreams are not random. The names suddenly showing up in your thoughts or your social media feeds are not coincidence. The conversations replaying in your mind from relationships long over are not signs you should reach out. They are prompts for internal judgment, asking you to finally decide what those experiences meant and what you're going to do with the information they provided. Every memory that surfaces during this period is arriving as an examination question. Did you learn what you needed to learn? Can you see now what you couldn't see then? Are you going to repeat this pattern or break it? The universe is not being cruel by making you feel things you thought you were done feeling. It's being thorough, ensuring that you don't carry unresolved emotional data into your new timeline, where it will corrupt what's trying to be built. The problem is that most people interpret this memory resurgence as a sign they should act on it. They feel the intensity of old emotions and think it means something unfinished is calling them back. They dream about an ex and decide the universe is telling them that person was their soulmate after all. These are not authentic intuitive hits. These are final attempts by misaligned energies to anchor the illusion before the window closes. The pull you feel toward the wrong person right now is not your soul recognizing its counterpart. It's unhealed parts of you being activated by familiar patterns of dysfunction, and those patterns are fighting for survival because they know their time is up. The difference between longing and destiny is this. Destiny pulls you forward into expansion, growth, and evolution, even when it's uncomfortable. Longing pulls you backward into repetition, contraction, and the false comfort of familiar pain. Destiny requires you to become more of who you truly are. Longing allows you to stay exactly who you've been while feeling deep feelings about it. The enemy strategy is brilliant in its simplicity. It doesn't need to convince you that toxic people are good for you. It just needs to make you feel something so powerful that you override your own wisdom in pursuit of that feeling. It creates spike experiences, moments of connection so intense they burn into your memory and become the benchmark against which you measure everything else. Then, when you meet someone who's actually healthy and available, the initial experience feels flat by comparison because it lacks the chemical warfare that you've been trained to interpret as passion. The enemy's greatest victory is when you reject genuine compatibility because it doesn't feel dramatic enough, because the person treats you well instead of keeping you anxious, because they're consistent instead of unpredictable, because they offer peace instead of chaos. You've been conditioned through trauma and cultural programming to believe that real love should hurt at least a little, should test you, should make you work for it, should feel like you're trying to solve a puzzle or win a prize. But that's not love. That's the enemy's strategy perfectly executed, getting you to volunteer for your own imprisonment while believing it's romance. This is why choice, not feeling, determines your outcome during this Neptune Direct activation. Your feelings have been compromised by years of false training about what love looks like. Your emotions cannot be trusted as guidance right now because they've been programmed to respond most powerfully to what hurts you. The only reliable compass you have is choice. Conscious, deliberate choice made from your highest self, not your wounded self. The wounded self will always vote for the familiar pain. The healed self will choose the unfamiliar peace. And here's what makes this moment so critical. The forces that profit from your confusion are losing power rapidly as Neptune moves direct. They can still influence you, but only if you give them permission through your choices. Every time you entertain thoughts of going back to what didn't work, you're giving permission. Every time you respond to breadcrumbs from someone who's proven they're not serious, you're giving permission. Every time you prioritize how someone makes you feel over how they actually treat you, you're giving permission. The pull you're experiencing toward wrong connections is not evidence that you're meant to be with those people. It's evidence that the enemy's strategy is in its final, desperate phase of trying to maintain access to your timeline. But the equation has shifted. Chosen one. Under Neptune retrograde, confusion was protected as part of the learning process. Under Neptune Direct, continuing to choose confusion has immediate consequences. The universe is no longer making excuses for why you can't see clearly. The fog has lifted. The truth is visible. If you still choose illusion after being shown reality, that choice locks in a specific trajectory, and it's not the one that leads to the love you've been praying for. This is not about judgment or punishment. It's about respecting your free will while also respecting cosmic law. You are being given clarity and then being asked what you'll do with it. The enemy can only win if you mistake the intensity of longing for the pull of destiny. But if you understand the difference, if you can feel the pull and not follow it, if you can acknowledge the hunger without letting it drive your decisions, you break the primary weapon being used against your romantic fulfillment. Chapter 5. The Mirror Trial. Who you love reveals who commands you. Tonight, as Neptune stations direct in Pisces, every romantic connection in your field becomes a mirror showing you something you need to see about your internal power structure. Chosen one. This is what the ancient texts called the mirror trial, a cosmic checkpoint where love is no longer allowed to be refuge, comfort, or escape. Instead, it becomes the most precise diagnostic tool the universe has for revealing what forces are actually running your life beneath the surface of your conscious awareness. The person you find yourself reaching for during this activation window is not random. They are an exact energetic match for either your governing wound or your healed authority, and the universe is watching which one you move toward when both options are available. If you choose the person who triggers your abandonment wounds, who makes you chase, who keeps you in anxiety and uncertainty, you are showing the cosmos that unhealed pain still has operational command over your romantic decisions. That wound is your actual leader, the voice that gets final say in who you give your energy to and what you're willing to tolerate. You might think you're choosing love, but you're actually following orders from trauma that has convinced you it knows what's best. But if you choose the person who treats you with consistency, who shows up without games, who might not give you the chemical rush you've been addicted to, but offers something infinitely more valuable, sustainable partnership that supports your mission, you are demonstrating that your healed authority has taken command. You are showing the universe that you've graduated from needing love to hurt in order to feel real. This doesn't mean the choice is easy. In fact, choosing from healed authority often feels wrong initially because it contradicts years of conditioning that taught you love should be hard, that you should have to prove yourself worthy, that real connection requires suffering and sacrifice. The person who's actually good for you might feel boring at first. They might not dominate your thoughts the way the toxic person does. They might not create the obsessive emotional states you've learned to interpret as passion. But what they offer is something the wounded parts of you have never experienced: being chosen consistently, being treated as valuable without having to earn it, being in a dynamic where both people are adding to each other's lives rather than one person draining the other. The mirror trial is exposure by design, chosen one. It strips away all your spiritual language, all your claims about being healed, all your intellectual understanding of healthy relationships, and shows you what you actually do when faced with the choice. You can say you want unconditional love, but if you keep choosing people who love you conditionally, your actions reveal what you truly believe you deserve. You can claim you're done with toxicity, but if you light up when the toxic person texts you while ignoring the stable person's consistent effort, your nervous system is telling the truth your words are hiding. This is why Neptune Direct in Pisces is so confronting. It removes the ability to lie to yourself about where you actually are in your healing journey. The mirror doesn't reflect what you wish were true or what you're working toward. It reflects what's operationally true right now, in this moment, when you have to make a choice that determines your entire timeline. What makes this trial even more intense is that love is no longer being allowed to serve as refuge from yourself. During Neptune retrograde, you could hide in relationships, use them as distraction from your own unprocessed material, lose yourself in someone else's life to avoid building your own. But Neptune Direct enforces reflection clauses that make this impossible. Every relationship now reflects back to you exactly what you're avoiding in yourself. If you're attracting people who won't commit, you're being shown your own commitment issues, your own fear of being fully seen, your own hesitation to show up completely for your own life. If you're magnetizing partners who are emotionally unavailable, you're being exposed to the ways you're unavailable to yourself, the ways you've abandoned your own needs and desires in pursuit of external validation. If you keep ending up with people who need fixing, you're being confronted with your own unwillingness to acknowledge that you are not actually a savior, and that your compulsion to rescue others is often just a sophisticated avoidance of dealing with what's broken in your own life. The wrong choice during the mirror trial doesn't just give you a bad relationship. It hands operational control of your entire life to unresolved pain. That pain becomes the decision maker in your career, your friendships, your health, your spiritual development. Everything starts getting filtered through the wound's agenda, which is not your growth, but its survival. And wounded parts of you survive by keeping you small, afraid, and convinced that you're not ready for what you actually want. But the right choice during the mirror trial restores sovereignty without drama. It doesn't require you to become someone different or fix everything wrong with you before you're worthy of love. It just requires you to choose from the part of you that knows your worth, rather than the part that questions it constantly. When you choose alignment over addiction, you're not just selecting a partner. You're selecting which version of yourself gets to be in charge of your destiny. And that choice reverberates through every area of your life, opening doors you didn't even know existed. Chapter 6. Soul Contracts. Enter Review Status. In the invisible architecture of human connection, there are agreements made between souls that transcend verbal communication. Chosen one, and many of these agreements were entered into during states of emotional compromise that would render them invalid under cosmic law if they were ever properly audited. Tonight, as Neptune stations direct in Pisces, that audit begins. Every bond you've formed, every relationship you've maintained, every connection you've held on to, all of it is entering review status, where the universe examines the terms under which these contracts were created and determines whether they still hold jurisdiction over your current timeline. Bonds formed under confusion are now legally contestable. Relationships you entered into from loneliness, desperation, fear of being alone, or fantasy about who someone could become rather than who they actually were, these contracts never had solid foundation, and Neptune Direct is revealing that their structure was always built on sand, not stone. You're going to feel this as a sudden shift in how certain relationships feel in your body, in your energy field, in your daily experience of them. Pisces energy specializes in auditing promises made when you weren't in full possession of your power, when you were operating from wounded consciousness, when you were so hungry for connection that you agreed to terms that were never truly acceptable to your soul. How many times have you said yes to someone's crumbs when you wanted the whole meal, but you convinced yourself that something was better than nothing? How many times have you stayed in situationships that were clearly going nowhere because leaving would have meant admitting you wasted time on someone who was never going to choose you the way you chose them? How many times have you tolerated disrespect, inconsistency, or emotional unavailability because you believed the fantasy of who this person would eventually become, rather than honoring the reality of who they were showing you they are right now? All of these compromises created contracts, and those contracts have been binding you to timelines that don't serve your highest evolution. But Neptune Direct is systematically identifying these agreements and marking them for dissolution. Some connections are going to dissolve without conflict, drama, or even conversation. You'll just wake up one day and realize that the emotional charge is gone, that you don't think about them anymore, that the bond that felt unbreakable has simply evaporated like morning fog when the sun rises. This is what happens when a soul contract's jurisdiction expires. There's no need for closure conversations or ceremonial endings because the energetic agreement has already been terminated in the invisible realms. The relationship just stops having power over you, and both parties naturally drift apart because there's no longer any cord keeping you tethered. But other connections are going to demand conscious renewal or permanent severance. These are the relationships that still have potential for evolution if both parties are willing to renegotiate from healed, sovereign positions. The universe is going to put you in situations where you have to explicitly decide, does this connection continue? And if so, under what terms? Am I willing to keep showing up for someone who isn't showing up for me with equal investment? Am I going to keep accepting behavior that violates my boundaries because I'm afraid of losing access to the good moments that occasionally appear? Here's what most people don't understand about the soul contract review process. Silence counts as consent to expiration. If you don't actively, consciously choose to renew a connection under new terms that actually honor your worth and your needs, the universe interprets your inaction as agreement that the contract should end. This is why so many relationships dissolve during Neptune Direct transits, and both people are confused about why something that seemed so important suddenly lost all its energy. It's because neither person did the work of consciously deciding whether they wanted to continue, and cosmic law defaults to dissolution when renewal isn't explicitly chosen. You cannot coast through this period, assuming that your connections will maintain themselves. Every relationship in your life right now is being asked, does this still serve mutual growth and evolution? Or has it become a pattern of extraction, tolerance, and compromise that diminishes both people? If you can't answer that question honestly, the universe will answer it for you, and the answer will probably be dissolution. But the review process isn't punishment, it's protection. It's the cosmos ensuring that you don't carry deadweight connections into the high vibration timeline that's trying to activate for you. You cannot step into your destined partnership while you're still energetically married to someone from your past who never actually committed to you. You cannot call in your divine counterpart while you're still tolerating situationships with people who see you as an option rather than a priority. The soul contract audit is clearing your field of agreements that were never meant to be permanent. Relationships that served their purpose as teachers or mirrors but were never meant to be life partners. Some people are meant to walk with you for a season, to show you something about yourself, to help you break a pattern or learn a lesson. But when the lesson is learned and the season ends, holding on to them becomes an anchor that prevents you from moving forward. Neptune Direct in Pisces is cutting those anchors, whether you're ready or not, because your readiness is no longer the determining factor. Your timeline activation is. Chapter 7. The Return Signal. Someone may reach out. There's a phenomenon happening right now across the collective consciousness, chosen one, where old connections are suddenly feeling inexplicable urges to reach out to people they haven't spoken to in months or even years. Neptune Direct in Pisces is reactivating dormant emotional channels, like forgotten phone lines suddenly getting power restored, and messages are going to arrive in your inbox, your DMs, your voicemail over the next days and weeks. These are not accidents. These are not signs from the universe that you're meant to reconnect. These are tests, and understanding the difference between a test and an opportunity is the difference between freedom and re-imprisonment in dynamics you've already graduated from. When someone from your past suddenly resurfaces during this transit, they are not reaching out because they've had some profound realization about your value, or because they've finally done the healing work that would make them capable of the partnership you deserve. They are reaching out because their own system is responding to the energetic shift, feeling the timeline activation, and unconsciously seeking confirmation that they still have access to your field, your energy, your attention. The past seeks confirmation it still has clearance to affect your present and future. Every ex who texts you "hey" with no context is checking to see if the door you closed is actually locked or if it will open with a little pressure. Every former situationship that reaches out with some excuse about thinking of you or wanting to check in is testing whether you've actually moved on or whether they can still pull you back into the familiar dance. Every person who treated you as an option while you treated them as a priority, who now suddenly has something to say after months of silence. They are not coming back because they're ready to give you what you wanted. They're coming back because they sensed that you're finally free, and something in them needs to disrupt that freedom because your liberation threatens their ego's narrative about the situation. They need to know that they still matter to you, that they still have power over your emotions, that they can still get a response when they decide they want your attention. Response grants clearance. Chosen one. This is the critical intelligence you need to understand. Every time you reply to these return signals, even if your reply is setting boundaries or telling them you've moved on, you are energetically confirming that the channel between you is still active, that they can still reach you, that they still have access. The cosmic system doesn't care what words you use in your response. It only registers whether you engaged or not. Engagement equals ongoing connection in the invisible contracts that govern relationships. Even anger, even telling them off, even explaining why you're done, all of that is still engagement, and engagement feeds the bond. But non-response, true silence where you don't even give them the energy of your reaction, that closes the loop permanently. It tells the universe and their soul that you have fully released this connection, that you've withdrawn your energy from this dynamic, that you've revoked their clearance to enter your field whenever they feel like it. This is not about being unkind or cold. This is about boundary enforcement at the level where it actually matters. You can have compassion for someone's journey without allowing them to disrupt yours. You can wish someone well without giving them another opportunity to destabilize your peace. You can acknowledge that someone meant something to you once without letting that past significance override what you know about their patterns and their capacity for what you actually need. The return signals arriving during Neptune Direct are specifically designed to test whether you've internalized the lessons of the retrograde period or whether you're still vulnerable to the old manipulation tactics dressed up in new packaging. Because that's what most of these reconnection attempts are: manipulation. Not necessarily conscious, malicious manipulation, but manipulation nonetheless. It's someone's ego trying to soothe itself by confirming that it still matters to you, that it still has power, that walking away from you wasn't actually the mistake their deeper self knows it was. Some of you are going to fail this test. You're going to respond out of curiosity, out of loneliness, out of hope that maybe this time will be different, out of the simple desire to feel chosen by someone who historically didn't choose you. And that failure will cost you time, energy, and momentum in your actual timeline activation. Because every ounce of attention you give backward is attention stolen from forward movement. Every conversation you have with someone who's proven they're not your person is a conversation you're not available to have with someone who could be. The return signal is not an invitation, it's a final exam. And the only way to pass is to recognize that some doors are meant to stay closed, that some people are meant to remain in your past, and that your silence in response to their return is not cruelty, but clarity, not coldness, but completion. Chapter 8. Heart versus Haze. The Pisces Discernment Protocol. There are two kinds of love operating under Neptune Direct in Pisces, chosen one, and only one of them is sustainable beyond the intoxication phase. The first kind feels limitless, boundless, transcendent, like you could merge with this person and dissolve into eternal bliss where no separation exists and every moment is poetry. This is the haze, and it's seductive specifically because it promises escape from the painful reality of being a separate self in a world that demands you show up in your body, do the work, and navigate the complexities of actual human relationship. The second kind feels more grounded, more real, sometimes even more challenging, because it doesn't offer escape, it offers partnership. which means two sovereign beings choosing to walk together without losing themselves in each other. This is the heart, and it's often rejected by people who've been trained to believe that real love should feel like a drug that makes everything else disappear. Tonight, clarity and compassion are separating, and many people are going to be shocked to discover that they cannot coexist in the relationship models they've been clinging to. One survives this separation, one dissolves, and which one remains determines whether you build something real or chase mirages into the desert until you collapse from exhaustion. The Pisces discernment protocol that activates tonight is brutal in its simplicity. Sustainable love enhances your life and your mission without requiring you to betray yourself, while unsustainable love demands constant sacrifice of your boundaries, your truth, and your well-being in exchange for moments of feeling good. Sustainable love makes you more yourself, not less. It supports your growth even when growth is uncomfortable. It challenges you to be better without shaming you for where you are. It holds space for your humanity while calling forth your divinity. Unsustainable love makes you smaller to fit into someone else's limited capacity. It requires you to dim your light so they don't feel threatened. It punishes you for having needs, for asking for more, for wanting the relationship to evolve beyond where it's been stuck. Sustainable love allows both people to be flawed, to make mistakes, to have bad days, without the entire relationship crumbling every time someone is less than perfect. Unsustainable love creates crisis from normal human behavior, turns every disagreement into evidence that you're incompatible, uses emotional intensity to distract from the lack of actual progress or commitment. But here's where most people get confused during Neptune transits and why so many end up choosing the haze over the heart, confusing empathy for obligation. You feel someone's pain, their loneliness, their struggle, and some part of you believes that feeling their situation deeply means you're responsible for fixing it, for staying even when staying costs you everything. This is not love. This is codependency, dressed in spiritual language. Choosing distance from someone who's suffering, someone who needs you, someone who's made you their source of stability even though they can't reciprocate or meet your actual needs. This can be the most accurate act of love you ever perform, because sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is refuse to participate in their dysfunction, refuse to enable their patterns by playing your assigned role in their drama, refuse to sacrifice yourself on the altar of their comfort while they do nothing to heal or grow. Pisces honors sacrifice only when it is voluntary, not habitual, only when it's a conscious choice made from fullness, not a compulsive pattern enacted from emptiness, trying to feel purposeful. The separation happening tonight between clarity and compassion is showing you where you've been lying to yourself, calling obligation love, calling enmeshment connection, calling anxiety passion. You've been confusing the adrenaline of uncertainty with the excitement of real partnership. You've been mistaking someone's need for you with them actually valuing you. You've been interpreting your own empathy and capacity to see potential as evidence that the relationship has potential, when really it just means you have the gift of seeing what could be. A gift that becomes a curse when you stay invested in people who show you repeatedly that they have no intention of becoming what you see is possible for them. Neptune Direct is forcing you to ask yourself questions you've been avoiding. If this person treated you exactly as they're treating you now for the rest of your life, never changing, never growing, never becoming more available, or more committed, or more capable of meeting your needs, would you stay? If the answer is no, then you're not in love with them. You're in love with who you hope they'll become. And that's the haze talking, not the heart. The heart can love someone and still choose to leave. The heart can see someone's beauty and still acknowledge their behavior is unacceptable. The heart can honor what you shared in the past while refusing to resurrect it in the present. The heart knows that some people are meant to be loved from a distance, where you wish them well and mean it genuinely, but you don't allow them access to your daily life, your energy field, or your future trajectory. The haze can't do this. The haze needs constant contact, needs to stay enmeshed, needs to keep the hope alive, even when hope has become another word for denial. The haze tells you that walking away is giving up, that real love fights for people no matter what, that if you just love them hard enough and long enough, they'll eventually transform. But the heart knows that you cannot love anyone into wholeness, that each person's healing is their own responsibility, and that staying in a dynamic that requires you to be less than you are is not noble, it's self-abandonment. Chapter 9. Unseen Witnesses. Record your decision. You are not making your choices in a vacuum, chosen one, and the decisions you're facing during this Neptune Direct activation are being observed and recorded by higher-order intelligences that most people have no conscious awareness of. These unseen witnesses exist in dimensions adjacent to your reality, and their function is not to judge or control you, but to track the alignment between your stated desires and your actual behavior, between what you claim to want and what you demonstrate you're willing to accept. This record is not kept for punishment purposes. It's kept because the universe operates on mathematical precision, and your future access points for love, partnership, and soul-level connection are calculated based on the data your choices generate. Every time you choose self-betrayal over self-honor, every time you accept treatment that violates your stated boundaries, every time you stay in a situation your soul knows is wrong because leaving feels too hard, these choices are logged in your energetic file, and they create the algorithm that determines what you'll be shown next. This is not mystical mumbo-jumbo, chosen one. This is the mechanics of manifestation that spiritual teachers rarely explain with this level of bluntness because it's not comfortable to hear. You cannot affirm your way into a healthy relationship while your behavioral choices keep confirming that you'll tolerate unhealthy dynamics. You cannot pray for your soulmate while your actions demonstrate you're still loyal to karmic patterns. You cannot ask the universe for more while you refuse to honor what you already have, including your own boundaries, your own truth, and your own non-negotiable standards. The unseen witnesses are not concerned with your words, your intentions, or your vision boards. They are tracking what you actually do when faced with the choice between what feels good temporarily and what serves your highest good long-term. And based on that tracking, they adjust what you'll encounter next in your romantic landscape. Choose illusion during this activation window, and the record shows you're not ready for truth-based partnership. The next opportunities presented will match that frequency. More illusion, more confusion, more situations where you can continue practicing discernment until you pass the test. Choose clarity, even when it costs you the comfort of familiar pain, even when it means being alone for longer than you wanted, even when it requires you to walk away from something that felt significant because significance is not the same as rightness. And the record shows you've graduated. You've demonstrated that your consciousness has evolved beyond the patterns that kept you stuck. And when consciousness evolves, reality reorganizes to match. This is when divine timing suddenly starts working in your favor. This is when the right people start appearing without you having to force or chase. This is when synchronicities multiply and doors open that were previously invisible. Not because you earned it through suffering, but because you finally aligned your choices with your stated desires, and the universe could trust you with what you've been asking for because you proved you won't sabotage it by choosing poorly when tested. The unseen witnesses don't care about your struggles or your backstory. They only care whether you're ready to receive what you're asking for, and readiness is proven through choice, not through time served or pain endured. This creates a level of responsibility that many people find overwhelming. Chosen one, because it means you can't blame external circumstances for your romantic situation anymore. It means you have to own that your current relationship reality is a direct reflection of your past choices, and your future relationship reality will be a direct reflection of the choices you make during this activation window. The person you end up with, or the continued pattern of ending up with the wrong people. Both are outcomes generated by your decisions right now, in this moment, when Neptune Direct is offering you unprecedented clarity about who and what actually aligns with your path. Some people will use this information to beat themselves up, to spiral into shame about all the times they chose poorly in the past. But the past is not the point. The record being kept is forward-looking, not backwards punishing. Every moment is a new opportunity to demonstrate growth, to show that you've learned, to prove that you're no longer the person who tolerates what you tolerated before. The unseen witnesses are waiting to see what you'll do with the clarity you're being given tonight. Will you honor it, or will you override it? Because honoring it requires courage you're not sure you have. Will you choose based on truth, or will you choose based on fear of being alone, fear of missing out, fear that this is your only chance, and if you walk away, you'll regret it forever? The record cannot be manipulated by spiritual bypassing, by telling yourself that staying in a situation that diminishes you is somehow a lesson in unconditional love. The record shows the truth your ego tries to hide, that sometimes staying is not love, it's fear. Sometimes patience is not a virtue, it's avoidance. Sometimes giving someone another chance is not compassion, it's self-betrayal. And every time you choose from fear while calling it love, the unseen witnesses log that data, and your access to actual love timelines gets delayed until you're willing to be honest about what's motivating your choices. Chapter 10. Emotional intoxication is no longer protected. During Neptune's retrograde through Pisces, there was a protective grace period where emotional confusion was excused as part of your growth process, chosen one, where the universe looked the other way when you kept returning to situations and people who were clearly not serving you because you were supposedly learning lessons and processing karma. That immunity has been revoked as of tonight. Neptune Direct motion removes the protective bubble that allowed you to escape into fantasy, to get lost in longing, to numb yourself with romantic obsession without facing immediate consequences. The tolerance for emotional intoxication has expired, and continuing to indulge in it now carries costs that will be felt not just emotionally, but across every timeline of your life. Love is no longer being allowed to function as your drug of choice, your distraction from doing your actual work, your excuse for not showing up fully in your own life because you're too busy being consumed by someone else's. Emotional intoxication looks like checking someone's social media 17 times a day, even though you know it hurts you to see what they're doing without you. It looks like replaying conversations and analyzing text messages, like they're encrypted codes containing hidden meanings about whether this person really loves you. It looks like losing hours, days, weeks to fantasizing about scenarios that have a near zero probability of manifesting because they would require the other person to fundamentally transform into someone they've shown you they're not. It looks like neglecting your friends, your health, your creative projects, your spiritual practice, your professional development, because all your energy is being consumed by emotional drama with someone who isn't even officially in a relationship with you. This is not love. This is addiction. And like all addictions, it serves the function of keeping you from feeling what you'd have to feel if you got sober. The grief of accepting reality, the fear of being truly alone, the discomfort of having to build a life that's fulfilling without romance as the centerpiece. Neptune retrograde excused this behavior as confusion, as necessary processing, as you working through your stuff. But direct motion says the working through period is over. And now it's time to embody what you've supposedly learned. Escaping into fantasy about an ex who treated you terribly is no longer protected as healing. It's recognized as avoidance. Getting lost in longing for someone who's unavailable is no longer seen as romantic. It's identified as self-harm. Emotionally numbing yourself through obsessive relationship analysis instead of feeling your actual feelings about your actual life is no longer acceptable collateral damage of being sensitive. It's a choice that's keeping you from your destiny, and that choice now has consequences. The consequences aren't punishment from some angry god in the sky. The consequences are natural cause and effect. You cannot build a real relationship while you're intoxicated on fantasy. You cannot call in your divine counterpart while you're emotionally married to someone who's not even in your life. You cannot access high-vibration love timelines while you're choosing to stay in low-vibration emotional states. This is the sobriety test, chosen one, and it's happening right now under Neptune Direct. Can you feel your feelings without getting lost in them? Can you acknowledge longing without acting on it impulsively? Can you sit with the discomfort of not knowing how your love story ends without escaping into fantasy or numbness? Can you be alone without filling the space with emotional drama that makes you feel alive, even though it's destroying your peace? These questions matter because love timelines demand sobriety of perception, the ability to see people and situations clearly, to make decisions from grounded presence rather than intoxicated desperation, to build connection on reality instead of fantasy. Every moment you spend in emotional intoxication is a moment you're not available for actual connection. Every hour you lose to obsessing over someone who's wrong for you is an hour you could have spent becoming someone who's ready for someone who's right for you. The protection has been lifted. The grace period has ended. From tonight forward, choosing to stay emotionally intoxicated is choosing to delay your timeline activation indefinitely. The universe is no longer making excuses for why you can't see clearly, why you can't choose wisely, why you keep going back to what doesn't work. The fog has lifted, the truth is visible, and what you indulge tonight determines what follows you forward. Will it be clarity, presence, and the capacity for real love? Or will it be the familiar, comfortable pain of emotional intoxication that keeps you trapped in cycles while convincing you that intensity equals depth? Chapter 11. The rare union path opens quietly. While everyone else is being seduced by intensity and drama during this Neptune Direct activation, there is a path opening that most people will completely miss because it doesn't announce itself with fireworks. Chosen one. True alignment, the kind that leads to soul partnership that actually lasts and supports both people's missions, does not arrive with the chaos you've been conditioned to interpret as chemistry. It shows up quietly, almost understated, often so subtle that people who are addicted to emotional intensity will dismiss it as boring or lacking spark. This is the rare union path, and Neptune Direct in Pisces is opening it only to those who have genuinely done the work of healing their attraction to dysfunction, who have reprogrammed their nervous systems to recognize that peace is not the same as lack of passion, that stability is not the same as settling, that someone treating you well from the beginning is not suspicious, but actually what healthy love looks like. The rare union path feels calm because it's not activating your trauma responses. It feels unfamiliar because you're encountering partnership without the need to prove yourself, chase validation, or fix someone. It feels almost understated because there's no manufactured tension, no push-pull dynamics, no wondering where you stand or whether they're actually interested. And for people whose entire relationship template has been built on anxiety, uncertainty, and emotional roller coasters, this calm presence can feel wrong, like something must be missing, like maybe this person just isn't the one, because you're not feeling that obsessive can't eat, can't sleep consuming fire that you've learned to call love. But what you've been calling love is actually trauma bonding, chosen one. And the fact that a healthy person doesn't trigger those responses is not evidence they're wrong for you. It's evidence they might be exactly right, and your system doesn't know how to process that because it's never experienced it before. Many will reject the rare union path because it lacks chaos. They'll meet someone who's kind, consistent, emotionally available, genuinely interested in building something real, and they'll feel nothing. Or worse, they'll feel something, but it won't be intense enough to override their addiction to drama. So they'll keep that person at a distance while continuing to chase the toxic person who makes them feel alive through pain. This is the tragedy that plays out during every Neptune Direct transit. People getting clear access to what they've been praying for and rejecting it because it doesn't match their wounded expectations of what love should feel like. The rare union path requires you to redefine your entire understanding of attraction, connection, and partnership. It requires you to trust something that feels too good to be true, even though your past has taught you that when things seem too good, they always reveal themselves as traps or illusions. It requires you to believe that you're worthy of being chosen easily, without games, without having to earn someone's affection through performance or sacrifice. Neptune Direct reveals this path only to those who stop chasing sensation, who recognize that the adrenaline rush of toxic connection is not passion, but panic, who understand that real love builds slowly and steadily rather than exploding in unsustainable intensity that burns out as fast as it ignites. If you're still chasing the high, still convinced that suffering is part of the package, still believing that easy equals wrong, you will miss the rare union path entirely. It will be right in front of you, possibly even pursuing you with clear intention and consistent effort. And you won't see it because you're looking for the red flags and drama you've been trained to recognize as significant. You'll be so focused on the person who keeps you guessing that you'll completely overlook the person who's making their interest clear, who's showing up reliably, who's treating you like the priority you've been begging other people to make you. Missing this path does not end your love story, chosen one. It postpones recognition. The rare union timeline remains available, but accessing it requires you to do the work of healing your attraction patterns, of retraining your nervous system to feel safe in healthy dynamics, of learning to value consistency over intensity. Some people take years or even decades to reach this point. They keep cycling through the same painful patterns, keep choosing the same type of person in different packaging, keep wondering why love keeps hurting them when they're actually the ones choosing pain because they don't know how to trust peace. But tonight, under Neptune Direct in Pisces, the rare union path is visible to anyone who's willing to look with new eyes, to feel with a healed heart, to choose with sovereign wisdom instead of wounded hunger. Chapter 12. Final warning: choice locks at dawn. The window that opened tonight does not remain open indefinitely. Chosen one, and this is the intelligence that separates those who transform their love lives during this transit from those who miss the opportunity entirely. Neptune's direct motion creates a specific activation period where timeline selection is fluid, where you can still shift between different romantic futures based on conscious choice. But this fluidity has an expiration point. Once Neptune's forward momentum accelerates past a certain threshold, once your emotional energy commits to a direction through repeated choices and sustained attention, reversal becomes exponentially more difficult. What feels like you're just exploring options, or keeping doors open, or taking time to figure things out, is actually the process of timeline selection happening in real time. And by the time you consciously realize you've made a choice, the choice has already been locked in through the pattern of your behavior, the focus of your attention, and the energy you've been feeding. Tonight decides whether love becomes refuge or responsibility in your life. Refuge meaning it's the place you run to escape yourself, your growth, your mission, your discomfort with being fully present in your own existence. Responsibility meaning it's a partnership between two people who are each handling their own healing while supporting each other's evolution without making the other person's job to fix or complete them. The first path looks like endless drama that feels deep but goes nowhere. The second path looks like steady building that feels quiet but creates foundation for lasting union. Most people choose refuge without realizing they're choosing it, because refuge is familiar and responsibility requires you to grow up in ways you've been avoiding. Refuge allows you to stay who you've been. Responsibility demands you become who you're meant to be. And becoming who you're meant to be is terrifying because it means you can't hide behind relationship drama anymore, can't use other people's dysfunction as excuse for your own lack of progress, can't blame your unfulfilled potential on being too busy dealing with romantic chaos. The timeline you choose will feel inevitable because you selected it, chosen one. This is the part that's hardest to accept, that what feels like fate is often just the natural outcome of your own choices playing out to their logical conclusion. That relationship that feels destined because it won't let you go. It feels that way because you keep going back, not because the universe is forcing you together. That person who feels like your soulmate even though they treat you terribly. They feel that way because your wounds recognize them as familiar, not because your soul recognizes them as aligned. The inevitability you'll experience in your love life over the coming months is not predetermined by cosmic forces beyond your control. It's the direct result of where you put your attention, your energy, and your choices during this activation window. If you choose poorly, what follows will feel inevitable, and you'll tell yourself it was meant to be, that you were powerless to resist, that this is just your karma or your destiny. But the truth is, you had a choice, and you made it, and now you're experiencing the consequences of that choice. Choice locks at dawn, which is both literal and metaphorical. Literally, the astrological energy shifts within the next day cycle, as Neptune establishes its direct motion pattern. Metaphorically, dawn represents the moment of clarity, the point where you can no longer pretend you don't see what you see or know what you know. After that point, continuing in confusion or dysfunction is no longer excusable as unconsciousness. It becomes conscious choice, and conscious choice of illusion over truth has much heavier consequences than unconscious stumbling in the dark. This is your final warning, not from a place of threat, but from a place of respect for your free will and your intelligence. You are being given information. What you do with that information determines everything. The universe has shown you the truth about every connection in your field. It has lifted the fog and exposed what was real and what was fantasy. It has given you unprecedented clarity about who's aligned with your path and who's a distraction disguised as destiny. What happens next is entirely in your hands. Choose the person who triggers your wounds, and you'll spend the foreseeable future in healing crisis, using relationship as your primary spiritual work, struggling to build anything else in your life, because all your energy will be consumed by romantic drama. Choose the person who reflects your healed state, and you'll experience partnership as support system, as collaboration, as something that adds to your life rather than becoming your entire life. Choose yourself if neither option currently present is actually aligned, and you'll open space for something you can't even imagine yet to enter, but only if you truly choose yourself, not just say you're choosing yourself while staying energetically tied to what's not working. The choice is yours. The window is closing, and whatever you choose, you will live with the consequences of that choice until the next major cosmic reset offers you another opportunity to redirect. Make it count. Conclusion. The transmission is complete, chosen one, but the operation has only just begun. You now possess classified intelligence that most people will never access because they're too busy being swept away by the emotional tides of Neptune Direct rather than learning to navigate them with conscious precision. You understand that the love timeline activating tonight is not a guarantee of easy romance or fairy tale endings. It's an opportunity to choose which version of your romantic future becomes real based on decisions you make with unprecedented clarity. The forces that kept you confused are losing power. The fog is lifting. The mirror is showing you truth. And you are standing at the most critical crossroads your love life will face for years to come. But knowing is not the same as choosing. Understanding is not the same as acting. You can carry this information forward and still default to old patterns because patterns have momentum and comfort, even when they're destroying you. Or you can use what you've learned here tonight to make different choices. Choices that honor your worth, that reflect your healing, that align with the love you've been praying for, rather than the pain you've been tolerating. The unseen witnesses are recording. The timeline is activating. The window is closing. And somewhere in the invisible architecture of cosmic law, your future is being written in the ink of your present moment choices. What you decide in the next 72 hours will echo through the rest of your life, not because you're being punished for choosing wrong, but because you're being honored for choosing consciously. The rare union path remains open for those with eyes to see it. The illusion war has ended for those willing to stop fighting for relationships that were never meant to survive scrutiny. The soul contracts are being reviewed for those brave enough to release what no longer serves. And your true love timeline is activating for those who choose alignment over addiction, truth over fantasy, sovereignty over surrender. This is not the end of your story, chosen one. This is the moment where you decide which story you're going to tell. The one where you became the person worthy of the love you desire, or the one where you stayed loyal to patterns that kept you trapped while calling it destiny. The next chapter is yours to write. Make it legendary.